In boxing, some fighters are loud. They build hype with words, they provoke, they try to get into their opponent's head before the fight even begins. And then there are fighters like Gennady Golovkin, a man who doesn't need to say much at all. No trash talk, no drama, no unnecessary noise. Just calm eyes, quiet confidence, and a presence that feels heavy the moment he steps into the ring. People call him GGG, a champion, a knockout artist. But those who have shared the ring with him understand something deeper. He is controlled destruction, a fighter who doesn't rush, but still breaks you down until there's nothing left. Golovkin was born on April 8, 1982, in Karaganda, Kazakhstan, a tough industrial city where life was simple but never easy. His father worked as a coal miner, his mother in a laboratory, and from a young age he was surrounded by discipline, routine, and the idea that nothing comes without effort. He had brothers, including a twin, and it was his older siblings who first pushed him toward boxing. When he entered the gym at just 8 years old, he wasn't treated like a child. Older boys tested him, hit harder, moved faster, and expected him to either adapt or quit. He didn't quit. Instead, something inside him started to form, something quiet but unbreakable. That early environment shaped the fighter he would later become. Not flashy or emotional, but steady, focused, and extremely hard to shake. Before the professional world ever saw him, Golovkin had already built a foundation that most fighters could only dream of. His amateur career was massive, with over 350 fights, each one adding experience, sharpening instincts, and building a deep understanding of the sport. He wasn't just active. He was successful at the highest level, winning gold at the 2003 World Amateur Boxing Championships and then securing a silver medal at the 2004 Athens Olympics. By the time he decided to turn professional in 2006, he wasn't a raw prospect trying to find his way. He was already a complete fighter with years of high-level experience behind him. The transition to professional boxing can be difficult as the fights are longer, the opponents are stronger, and the margin for error becomes smaller, but Golovkin adjusted quickly. What stood out immediately wasn't just his power, but how controlled everything was. He didn't throw wild punches or chase knockouts recklessly. He moved forward with patience, cutting off the ring step by step, closing distance in a way that felt almost inevitable. It was like watching someone solve a problem in real time, calmly removing every option until the outcome became obvious. As his career progressed, the knockouts started to pile up. One after another, opponents were stopped, many of them unable to handle the constant pressure and precision. At one point, his knockout ratio became one of the highest in boxing, and people began to realize that this wasn't just power, it was something more refined. His jab alone carried serious weight, setting up everything else, controlling distance, and breaking opponents mentally before the bigger shots even landed. His body punches were brutal, digging deep and slowly draining the will out of whoever stood in front of him. What made it even more impressive was that fighters knew exactly what he was going to do, yet they still couldn't stop it. Golovkin's style is built on fundamentals, the kind of basics that every boxer learns, but very few truly master. His footwork isn't flashy, but it's precise, always placing him in the right position while quietly taking away space from his opponent. He doesn't run after fighters. He traps them, guiding them into corners and forcing exchanges on his terms. His balance allows him to generate power without losing control, meaning every punch has purpose and impact. And then there is his pressure, the kind that doesn't fade. He keeps coming forward, not in a wild rush, but with a steady, almost calm advance that slowly wears opponents down both physically and mentally. It's exhausting to deal with because there is no break, no moment to reset, just constant presence. Over time, Golovkin became the dominant force in the middleweight division, holding multiple world titles and defending them repeatedly. For years, many top fighters avoided him, knowing that facing him wasn't just about losing a fight, it was about enduring serious damage. Despite this reputation, he remained humble, often smiling, speaking respectfully, and never engaging in unnecessary drama. His phrase, "big drama show," became iconic, not because he hyped it up, but because he delivered it every time he stepped into the ring. One of the defining chapters of his career came with his rivalry against Canelo Alvarez, a series of fights that captured the attention of the entire boxing world. Their first encounter was intense and competitive, with many believing Golovkin had done enough to win, yet it ended in a controversial draw. The rematch was just as close, filled with high-level exchanges and moments that kept fans debating long after the final bell. Regardless of the outcomes, those fights showed that Golovkin could compete at the very highest level, not just as a power puncher, but as a complete, skilled fighter. Another aspect of his greatness that often gets overlooked is his durability. In a sport where one clean punch can end everything, Golovkin has shown an incredible ability to absorb shots and keep moving forward. He doesn't panic when hit, he doesn't lose structure, he simply continues, which creates a psychological advantage. When opponents realize that their best shots aren't enough to stop him, doubt starts to creep in, and that doubt changes everything. Outside the ring, Golovkin is a completely different person from the image you might expect. He's quiet, respectful, and grounded, someone who doesn't chase fame or attention. He represents Kazakhstan with pride and remains connected to his roots, valuing family and discipline above everything else. Even at the peak of his career, with global recognition and success, he stayed the same person he was at the beginning, focused on his craft and respectful toward others. His legacy goes beyond titles, knockouts, or statistics. It's about how he approached the sport, with patience, discipline, and a deep understanding of fundamentals. He showed that you don't need to be loud to be great, that you don't need to create drama outside the ring when you can deliver it inside. He reminded people that boxing is not just about power, but about control, positioning, and mental strength. In a world where many fighters try to stand out by being different, Golovkin stood out by being consistent, by mastering the basics to a level that made him nearly unstoppable. When you watch him fight, it doesn't feel chaotic, it feels calculated, like every step, every punch, every movement is part of a larger plan. And that's what makes him special. Not just the knockouts, not just the wins, but the way he does it, calm, composed, and always in control. When the noise fades and the lights dim, what remains is the memory of a fighter who didn't need to say much to make an impact. A man who walked forward round after round, breaking opponents down without ever losing his composure. This is not wild aggression, this is controlled power. This is not chaos, this is precision. This is Gennady Golovkin, the silent destroyer.